Hello and welcome back to the Football Talk podcast with me, Dave, and my co-host Josh. Say hello.
What's
Oh my god.
You know what entered my head
The
was
Office.
Thierry Marie's celebration, and I couldn't help myself. Sorry.
Bloody hell. Well, hello again, Josh. Bloody hell. Okay,
Hello.
that's thrown me off completely. Why? There's no warning about that. Right, so we've obviously had two very decent episodes last time. Thank you very much, everyone who's listened, and hopefully you're back to listen to this one as well, where we focused on the transfers. There'll be a bit more of that in this episode. We're going to be talking, obviously, we'll have the wiki files as ever as well. And then we're going to be talking about predictions, how Josh and I see the season going, mainly focusing, obviously, on the Premier League. But we're going to have a little bit Champions League prediction as well. But, as ever, our weeks in football. So, Josh, any information about your football antics this week?
Mundane, Dave. Mundane. So I was meant to play football, got cancelled, lack of people turning up. So obviously there's also lack of activity in my club's transfer window, a bit tedious. So I went to what other people might also call mundane is I went to statistics. So I've been starting compiling managerial statistics for the Premier League, looking at all the managers. So, yeah, I mean, I think we'll leave it there. We'll talk about that in a few weeks. But as far as interesting goes, I've stretched it beyond belief. So we'll go to what you've done this week.
Okay. I was very lucky enough to be given a free ticket to go and see PSG v Atletico Madrid. Yeah, it was free as well. From our pub that sponsors our football team, they had 6 free tickets to go to the games that were on in Singapore for pre-season. And I was lucky enough to be able to go and see PSG v Atletico Madrid on a lovely Monday evening. It was very nice, and it finished in a very, very interesting 3-2 win for PSG. The score, PSG went 1-0 up, then 1-1, then 2-1, then 2-2 in the 89th minute, and then PSG won it in the 93rd minute with a late equaliser. And the guy I was watching it with left 5 minutes early. So when he left, PSG were 2-1 up, and then it finished 3-2. So yeah, it was a very good experience. First time I've actually been inside the National Stadium here in Singapore, and it was lovely. It's a really nice stadium, really well maintained, really modern. A couple of things I didn't really like. It's very American in the, when goals and half time happens, it's really loud music and they try and entertain you when no one's really that interested. And in the roof, so it's like a permanently enclosed roof, but it has an open end at either side behind the goal to let some air in, because obviously it's so hot in Singapore. And in the roof, whenever someone scored, it spelt the word goal, and I couldn't decide if I liked that or not, and I'm leaning towards I didn't. And
I'm right there with you, Dave.
I have no real reason why I need to dislike it, but yeah, it was just a bit of a...
Any other information like foul or throw-ins? Any other text?
No, it was just goal exclamation mark, all in capital letters. So... But it was, either way, it was a very, very interesting experience to go and see it. Huge PSG support in Singapore that I never knew of. Like, absolutely massive. There's apparently 2 clubs they love over here, and it's PSG and Arsenal, which is why the tournament was staged here for Arsenal. And they love Arsenal and PSG. Like, PSG brought over all of their... like the trophies they'd won last season, and you could have a photo with all the trophies. They did loads of things with all the fans, and Arsenal had an Arsenal shop because they don't have any trophies to show off. But yeah, it was a great atmosphere.
So if Unai Emery went to Singapore, he'd be absolutely swamped, wouldn't he?
He really would, yeah. He really would. But one highlight that stood out for me was, and a guy that I was really interested to see play, was Timothy Weah. Obviously the son of George Weah, who is now the president, I think, of Ghana? No, not Ghana.
It'd be Liberia thing.
Liberia. Yeah. The president of Liberia. So thank you for correcting me there. Yeah, which is impressive in itself. But Timothy Weah was incredible. A USA international. So he's not following his father's footsteps in Africa, but he plays for the USA. And he was incredible. He scored, like Josh, we were talking off air, and Josh pointed out as well, he actually scored against Monaco in the French Super Cup. So I'll tell you, he's going to be a superstar. If he can keep, his head in the right direction and his fitness going and doesn't have any big problems with his career, like injury-wise, he'll be a superstar. And PSG have got a great player on their hands. He looked great. Rapid, ran the channels, was physical, tall, really good on the ball. I had a bit of a love-in with him. I was sort of on there. Anyone that follows me on Twitter would have seen the tweets I was putting out on Timothy Weir watch. So it was great. It was really good. So that was a good start to my footballing week actually on Monday. That was really good. No midweek game for me this week, which was good because I was resting my knee from the injury I picked up last week. And then today we're recording this after I've actually played here in Singapore, and we had a very weird 3-3 draw. So it rained and we went 1-0 up. It was really hot, and then it had a sudden downpour, and we went 1-0 up in this downpour. And I play for a predominantly expats team, so we've got a mix of European nationalities in our team. And we went 1-0 up, and then the sun came out, was steaming hot, and they poured it back to 1-1. And they're a local team. They're a team full of Singaporeans at 1-1. Then it got to half time. The heavens opened again at the start of the second half, and we went 3-1 up. And then the rain stopped, and the sun came out, and the heat came back, and we conceded 2 goals, and it finished 3-0. I've never been in a game that was so weather dependent. It was ridiculous. It was utterly ridiculous. But it was a really good game. Yeah, really good. We had an absolute cracker scored, like from about 30, 35 yards. Our central midfielder picked it up and just sort of, I don't know, I was behind him, obviously being a centre back. But if I could see his face, I imagine the expression would have been something along the lines of, I don't give a shit, let's just hit this time really hard towards the goal. And it flew in the top corner, and then one of their third goal, their equalising goal, was a lovely bit of like intricate passing manoeuvre. Probably a goal you would really like, Josh. Intricate passing move. Their winger got down to the byline and then did a nice little turn, like nice little bit of skill that nutmegged our fullback. As I went out to go and close him down, being the covering centre back, he like basically dinked it. No, he didn't. He fired it really low and direct across the ground, and their striker got in front of our other centre back and just tucked it nicely in the bottom corner. It was a lovely goal. But yeah, 3-3. So it was a good result. I'm absolutely shattered right now, folks. I was back in Indonesia yesterday playing golf. No sign of Danny Guthrie, and then football today. And I'm pretty much ready to have a little sleep. So let's.
Well, don't let it affect your podcast performance, Dave. Come on, let's just.
I'm very professional, Josh. It's not going to let me affect my podcast performance. And then the other thing, I've sort of shoved this into my week in football because if you don't follow me on Twitter, you can @CulturedF, and if you want to follow Josh @CoolJ, which is COULLJ. Yeah, go and follow us. Josh is always posting things about Tottenham's lack of activity in the transfer market and his love for Wilfried Zaha. And I'm generally posting about my Football Manager content and other things about football. So go and follow us. But I put out 2 Twitter polls during the week. One was on the back of a comment we got on the last video we put out, where I mentioned that I didn't expect, there was a certain player we're talking about, and I was like, I didn't expect him to sign for someone like, I can't remember the context of it, but it was discussing PSG and Man City's squads, and I basically put PSG as having a lower squad than Man City. Someone commented on the video and said, I don't think that's really fair to say that. PSG have got a squad where people are better in nearly every position other than a couple, and I don't think it's all down to the manager. So I put out a tweet saying, after a recent comment on the Football Talk podcast, who has the better squad when compared player to player, Man City or PSG? And overwhelmingly, 87% of the people that voted, and we had quite a few voters on this, 87% of the people said that Man City have the better squad player to player. So Josh, have you got any thoughts on that very briefly?
Yeah, so I had a kind of thought around the squads, and I kind of worked through, as we've done with the transfers of the top clubs. I looked and thought and kind of matched up their first 11 to the first 11. And I mean, 87% is quite overwhelming, but I don't think it's as clear cut as that. I think Man City do have a better squad, but I think it's pretty even, really. But overall, I'd probably take Man City's squad over PSG's.
Yeah, I think that's.
You felt the same, I presume?
Yeah. That's what I didn't mean it to come across and say. Like when we're talking about it, I didn't mean to come across and say, Man City were miles and miles ahead of PSG. But I would, if you offered me both squad choices, no matter who the manager is, I'd always take Man City squad, like always, because it's much more complete.
Definitely. I mean, the squad definitely. But if you look at the first 11, it's very even. It's just beyond that.
Yeah.
On a little bit more of aging players or. Some kind of has-beens or their youth. So like their Man City have got Aguero and Jesus. It's incomparable, really. But on the wings, for example, PSG have Mbappe and Neymar, which I would put above Sterling and Sane. It's twos and throws.
Yeah, very true, very true.
A lovely position for any manager to be in, to have either of those squads, though, isn't it? Really.
It definitely is. So if you've got any thoughts on that, leave them down below. And this does go to prove as well that if you do leave a comment, we read all the comments and I will interact with you because I run the account, but Josh will always be responding on Twitter if you have any questions or anything like that. So always do leave a comment if you've got a question or you've got a thought on something we say. We're more than interested to hear about it. And then the other one we put out was just because we were talking about transfers and things like that. And I just asked the question, who does everyone think is the best placed team to challenge Man City this season? And again, the results are pretty overwhelming. 80% of people, and we had more votes on this than we did on the PSG question, 80% of people picked Liverpool to be Man City's best placed team to challenge Man City this season, with 10% saying Man United, 6% saying Spurs, and 4% saying Arsenal, and only one comment saying, why did I leave out Chelsea? So I did, because I could only pick a limited of 4 choices in the poll. So that's why Chelsea didn't get put in there. But I mean, Josh, 80% saying Liverpool?
It's very similar to the previous part. I agree that Liverpool are probably best placed to challenge, but I think as fans, we look at it from going, well, all Liverpool have to do is build on what they did last season, Salah scoring 30-odd goals. They've got some great signings on paper, put the 2 and 2 together, great, but it's just as easy that, say, Salah doesn't score anywhere near those goals. There's an injury to Van Dijk, you're porous again. The signings take a year to adapt, and so I think they are probably best placed on paper, but
yeah.
I'm not. It's intriguing. Obviously, that's the intrigue of the season. That it's not necessarily going to play out like that.
Yeah, football's not played on paper, as someone very famous once said, who I can't remember. That was my week in football. I just wanted to revolve it, mainly around those Twitter polls, because it's always good to get thoughts of other people that there are obviously people out there that think Arsenal are best placed to challenge Man City this season. So again, any thoughts you have of why and who and what, however, let us know down below, because we love talking about football. That's why we set up this podcast, and it's really interesting to get everybody else's ideas and what they're thinking about. So yeah, let us know down below. But next up, we're going to have a little chat and a little roundup of transfers and more thoughts we've had about transfers since our last episode. So obviously we've covered the top 6. So we're going to try and focus on some other teams, because the top 6 haven't really done too much more in the transfer window. But Josh, I'm going to let you lead this bit, so take it away.
Yeah, so one of the sides that I felt we should probably cover, because I think they may be in the position of having won the transfer window, is West Ham.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's a position you don't want to be in, win the transfer window. And the more I've been thinking this week around the window is that often a player doesn't necessarily have the impact you want in his first season. And they may then play that first season. And so it's more about, I think, more and more I want to have a look at players. And so I don't think necessarily you want to win the transfer window, but failing that, West Ham have had what on paper seems to be a good one. So obviously you've got a new manager in, which I think is a massive upgrade.
Yeah, huge upgrade.
Newcastle and West Ham have ex-Real Madrid managers managing them. It's a strange situation to be in, isn't it?
It's very weird, yeah.
And then the dealings that they've done I think, have pushed them to another level. It's just that there's a level of inconsistency they may come with it. So they've signed Fabianski, who I rate as a keeper. I think he's a very good keeper.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to upgrade on, say it was Joe Hart or Adrian, I think he's an upgrade on both. He obviously tarnished somewhat by having a relegated TV, but I don't think he was necessarily to blame for that. I think maybe the goal scoring earlier on the season probably affected them there.
Yeah.
And some other signings, so there's Ryan Fredericks, ex-Spurs youth player, right back, very quick, really gets up and down the pitch. I think it will serve them quite well, because Zabaleta's not getting younger, Sam Byram hasn't really impressed, Antonio played there a little bit. No one really made it their own, so I think that's a weakness that they've rectified. In the attacking position is where I said the consistency. So you got Wilshere and Yarmolenko. Wilshere obviously let go by Arsenal, and Yarmolenko from Dortmund for not exactly an exorbitant fee because of injury problems. So you can keep them fit and firing. They're kind of verging on top 6 kind of players, but clubs didn't take a chance on them for me. And obviously the other signing you have is Philippe Anderson, who I liked a few years back. Good in the wings, can add a bit of dynamism, but add that to kind of Marko Arnautovic up front. That's a very good attacking core.
It is. It's a very good attacking team they've got. I'm a bit similar to what you just said. Like the Yarmolenko thing, I find really interesting, because obviously he was quite a highly rated player, but if he's that highly rated, I'm going to say something again which will probably cause anger in the comments, but you'd expect a better team than West Ham to be in for him.
Absolutely. Yeah, you see all the time on Twitter going, why didn't we go in for Yarmolenko? Like when West Ham got, it was like, top six clubs, like, we don't know all the dealings there. We don't know all the history. We don't know all of the attitude things. So there's a reason why he decides to go for a West Ham and not for a top club, or a top club doesn't decide to go for him. So I kind of normally trust instincts like that. Like when West Ham signed Dimitri Payet a few years ago. It's like, wow, he's a great player. Yes, he had a great season. And then soon to issues come with it, he went completely off the ball and was absolutely nothingness. It's just, and then got shipped out next season. It's like, that's why clubs want an investment. They don't want just that one season wonder.
Yeah, very true. I think one signing. Sorry, I don't know if you did mention it, but the centre back Iyassa Diop, who they signed from Toulouse. Yeah, he's he looks like he's going to be quite a handy player.
Well, isn't it?
From everything I've seen, yeah, it's big fee, good centre back. Yeah, I think he's going to be good. They've, like you say, West Ham have potentially won. I'm doing inverted commas with my fingers, which obviously no one can see, but they've won the transfer window, if you can put it like that. The only thing I would say is that last season, obviously, everyone said Everton won the transfer window, so you have to take it with a pinch of salt. But I think West Ham have done some very shrewd business, which is not something you can normally say about the David brothers, or the Dildo brothers, as they're known in some circles.
No, agreed. Yeah. It's almost like they've let the manager buy the players this time, isn't it?
Well, they've done it. They had a big, didn't they have a big overview, or a review sort of thing, like Arsenal did, and they actually brought in a director of football, which is why David Moyes didn't want, or there was the disagreement between David Moyes and the board about renewing his contract, because I think they've brought in a director of football, which means they've taken away that. They probably, the David Gold and David Sullivan probably do have the input into transfers again. They do have a bit of input into who they want to buy and what happens. But I think it's been given more to a director of football to take it away. And they've bought someone who has worked with Pellegrini before. So I think that's why it's all been a bit smoother sailing for West Ham. I mean, they still have their problems, don't they? With Andy Carroll and Winston Reid being ruled out for like 4 months due to new injuries each.
Yeah, so I wouldn't try to see them do a little bit more business before the window ends. Shout out to, I was going to use a stat, but I'll shout out to the producer of it. So I'm Ben Mayhew on Twitter, who's under @experimental361. I use his stats every now and then to just for my own kind of enjoyment. But the stat here is called squad churn, and this looks at the amount of percent, like, for minutes played last season, the amount of minutes you've retained going into this season from player sales. So obviously Tottenham haven't sold anyone yet who played a minute for us last season, so we're at 100%. So we've got a very consistent squad. Same with Chelsea, 100%. But at the other end of the scale, we have, Fulham have got 66.9%, which you'd expect. They're a club trying to progress, and we'll talk about them in a bit around what they got, maybe Championship players. They want to bring in Premier League players, but then West Ham are the next ones there, who have 76.8%. So they've fair old churn on their transfers, and as I said earlier in this segment, is that it's time for players to adapt. You've got new managers, so new views. You've got, of those players signed, only Fabianski and Wilshere have Premier League experience. Fredericks has Championship experience, but the others are all from foreign leagues. So you may win it on paper, but you've got some adapting to do there.
Yeah, that's very interesting actually. That stat the fact that someone's gone into that level of detail. I mean, stats rule football now. It's like, and that's good. I like stats. I think that's a really good thing. But that's interesting to see that level of change of minute retention is very, very interesting. It's very interesting, and I really like that. Thanks, Josh, or thanks to Mr. Experimental Man on Twitter. We'll put a link to his Twitter.
Yeah, we'll link that.
Yeah, because I'm never, like, if I can't remember it and Josh said it 30 seconds ago, then I doubt you guys remember it at the end of the podcast. So we'll definitely put that description into his link in the description below. So, okay, anything else about West Ham? Obviously, they have been one of the big movers. So,
no, just a part of me hopes they don't do very well because I don't like West Ham. But hey,
okay, I don't mind West Ham. I'd like them to see, mid-table. Just don't get relegated. That's what I'd like from West Ham. Just don't get relegated. So
But just quickly, what Clara did love at the end of last season was Arnautovic, was that he became a player that everybody kind of wanted him to be. He always seemed like a really poor man's Ibrahimovic.
yeah,
And then he just kind of Moy just made him turn the power on. He's like, yeah, I'll play up front. He always seemed like he was too afraid to play up front and played in the wing, but he was immense last season, so hopefully he can carry it on, because I really enjoyed watching him play. Some very good individual brilliance.
Like I say, his individual performances got him linked to Man United. So
didn't they?
Yeah, it was Mourinho apparently sent scouts to go and watch him towards the end of the season. So that's an interesting one. I still think we might get him on a bit of a panic buy on transfer deadline day, and I think that's what West Ham was signing. I think West Ham was signing players in the expectation of bids coming in for Arnautovic, like Yarmolenko and Anderson. They can both sort of play on the wing. I know they were playing Arnautovic up front, but I think they were expecting someone to bid quite big for Arnautovic. So, but all it's ended up doing is giving West Ham some quite good squad depth. So that's never a bad thing in football. A team I'm quite interested to talk about was Wolves, who have obviously
Wolverhampton Wanderers, yes,
got promoted and have been splashing the cash. I'd suggest just popping over to Portugal, and every trip they just come back with another player stuffed in their hand luggage. So
yeah, I mean, a few of their signings have been kind of made permanent, loans made permanent. So Diego Jota and Willy Bolly. I think like João Moutinho, but I mean, any Spurs fan out there will know that we got linked with him for a whole summer when Villas-Boas was there. He's getting on a bit now, 31, but I think he can control midfield. I think it's a very good signing.
Yeah.
Obviously, we got Rui Patricio in goal, which is absolutely fantastic, because I think every promoted side knows that you need that. You're going to come under pressure. It's just any player in world-class position you can, and I think they've almost got one there with a goalkeeper.
Yeah,
he's
it's like you say, when, like the promoted teams know that they need to have some of these improvements, and when you look at the comparison, for example, of Rui Patricio as at a promoted club comparing to all the other goalkeepers that play for all the other promoted clubs since about probably 3 or 4 years ago, and you're sort of thinking, yeah, he's in a different league to those sort of keepers that were with the promoted clubs at the time they got promoted. And it's an incredible piece of business. You know, it could potentially cost them quite a bit of money, but I don't think Sporting have got a leg to stand on with the whole FIFA complaint, because they offered him the chance to rip up his contract and he took it. So
basically, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I know why they're complaining, because they probably thought he'd go onto a massive club somewhere, or he would stay loyal and things like that. But I don't see why they're complaining. Well, they haven't got a leg to stand on, is what I'm trying to say. And obviously, one of the biggest pulls of the season that Wolves have had, João Moutinho, like champ manager, football manager legend, there's 5 million they've bought him for from Monaco.
Yeah, it's an absurd amount of Portuguese. We spoke. It's one of our first podcasts, was it? The Portuguese impact.
Yeah.
At Wolves, and there seems no sign of abating, does it? It's very interesting with Wolves, and I think again, it's that kind of on paper you feel like, oh, they're going to do the best out of the promoted sides, but do you reckon they will? Do you want to go straight into the kind of the promoted sides? Yeah,
we can talk about it a little bit. I think Wolves will probably do the best out of all the promoted teams. I think the improvements they've made are very good, and they've got a proper top class goalkeeper, which is. It's a massive game changer in the terms of a promoted club coming up, and the leagues show. Like, we were chatting about David De Gea, weren't we, a couple of weeks ago or something, to say, you know, how different would it be if United didn't have him? And I think that's a big thing with clubs. They've now got, you know, João Moutinho is going to be in the middle alongside Neves in there, which is a phenomenal midfielder. They shouldn't look out of place in the Premier League, and you wouldn't have been surprised if Wolves hadn't come up that those two players could have signed for another team in the Premier League. I just think it comes down to the squad depth, because Wolves haven't let too many people go, and they've kept that championship sort of togetherness that a lot of club coaches and clubs always talk about promoted teams. Sort of like Huddersfield had that, and Bournemouth, they're a great example of having that togetherness. But they've just added in this little sprinkle of really, really top class, good players, and I think they're going to be well set for the Premier League. I think they're going to be fine.
No, I agree. I think they will be fine. I think it won't be quite as impressive as people may have, but they often played kind of on the counter attack last year, and I think a lot of people are looking forward to seeing Ryan Sessegnon for Fulham, but I think Diogo Jota as for Wolves is going to be equally exciting. He was fantastic last year on the left wing, so I think that'll be quite a player to watch. But the issue is that a goal scorer, a Premier League,
Yeah,
very difficult to get, but none of them have that player you can guarantee probably even 15 Premier League goals. It's going to be hard to come by.
It is interesting, and that's exactly the next point I was going to make. Is that the Wolves don't have I think they've got, is it Bottinelli up front at the moment? Maybe they've got another one that I'm not too sure of, but they don't have that. Yeah, they're depending on a lot of goals from midfield, I think, Wolves. And then you look at the other promoted clubs, and Fulham have just bought Mitrovic for 20-something million, which is. I love Alexander Mitrovic. Yes, he's a bit of a knob. Yeah, I've always, since his Anderlecht days, he was a Football Manager find when he was playing in the deep depths of Anderlecht when he was like 18 or 17 or 18. And I signed him on a Football Manager years and years ago. And it was one of those players that he was scoring so many goals for me. I looked him up on the internet, and it turned out he had won like the Golden Boot for the Under-19s European Championship or something, like 2 years in a row or whatever. He won some Golden Boot for under-19 level of football 2 years in a row, and I was like, oh my god, yeah, this guy could be good. And then it all came about that Newcastle signed him, and it didn't quite work out. And then he went on loan to Fulham in the Championship and scored like 13 in 16 games or something, which was incredible.
Yeah, I think 12 and 17 in the league. But for me, he's
not
epitome.
a Premier League striker.
No, he's the epitome of Championship striker. He's a Cameron Jerome level of striker. For me, he seems clumsy. He's a big guy, puts himself about, reeks of Championship for me, and he'll get goals, but nowhere near enough to kind of level of striker.
And the thing that struck me about Mitrovic is that obviously when he was at Newcastle, he had quite a lot of disciplinary problems on the pitch, a couple off the pitch. And I think that could happen again with Fulham, because Fulham they won't be winning as many games as they did last season. And Mitrovic strikes me as that player that when everything's going swimmingly for him and he's scoring goals and he's having fun, he's a lovely person. He won't get into any trouble. As soon as it all goes wrong, sort of like a Stan Collymore. When Stan Collymore was doing well, you didn't really hear too much about him. When his career started to tumble off and he didn't get things all his way, he just kicked off and set fire extinguishers off in hotels, and did other much worse things than that as well. Well, potentially, as my lawyers have told me to say. I agree. I think Mitrovic he's a Championship striker that I wouldn't have spent 22 million on, but.
No, and so Fulham are bottom of the. If you want to look at the squad churn, so they've obviously wanted to improve, and one of the players I'm interested to see because of getting his Football Manager is Jean-Michel Seri, the centre mid from Nice.
What a signing, potentially! What a signing!
Yeah,
to be linked with Chelsea and then snapped up by Fulham. Yeah,
I think it must be their record signing now. Actually,
he must be. Yeah, he must be.
And also, I like quite Alfie Mawson at centre back, so I think they've got that good 11. It doesn't always translate. You play nice football at Premier League, Championship level, to them playing nice football, which is also effective at getting results at Premier League. So I'm a little bit concerned.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure. I think I've got Fulham down in my predictions as being safe. I've got them as being safe, and I think a successful season again, similar to sort of Huddersfield when they came up, any promoted team when they came up. Other than maybe Wolves, is that they come up with if we finish 17th and we stay up by goal difference, that's a successful season. And I think Fulham have got enough about them to stay up. I really do.
No, I agree. I haven't got them in my spoiler alert. I haven't got them in my relegated 3. Yeah. But if we still speak about the next promote side, spoiler alert, they are bottom of the pile.
They are 100% a long way bottom of the pile. A long way bottom of the pile. And I'm even going to admit it. I'm biased because I hate Neil Warnock. Colin Wanker, I want him to finish bottom of the Premier League. I want him to be gone. I want him to be gone before Christmas. I don't want him in my division. I don't want him in the Premier League.
If we spoke about Mitrovic and I mentioned the other players I mentioned being Championship strikers, Neil Warnock, aka the anagram of his name is Colin Wanker, he is a Championship manager.
Yeah, we're not talking about the game.
No. Oh, good
Yeah.
times.
Speaking of which, I'll just plug this in there. I am releasing a Champ Manager 0102 save on my YouTube channel. It's coming up very
Oh,
soon. So yeah, keep your eye out for that. But yeah, Neil Warnock, I just don't like the guy. I don't think Cardiff have recruited very well. They've lost one of the things that is really, really crucial about my prediction with Cardiff is that they haven't managed to re-sign Marco Grujic on loan from Liverpool, and he was instrumental for them in the Championship last year in centre midfield. And he said that he doesn't want to go back there. He wants to try and either get a place at Liverpool or go to basically a better team, is what Marco Grujic has said, and that is a huge blow for Cardiff. Huge.
their squad churn is currently at 90.9%, by the way. So
Okay.
they have retained a lot of their championship level players so far, which
It's a
decided to
concern.
play like Cardiff do, which is very much a championship style of football. It's not glamorous. It's somewhat Route One. They're very little kind of possession. It's just a lot of kind of bombardment of the opposition. I don't think it's going to end well. And also, it was turned into a kind of Ben Mayhew stat fest. So he also does a Premier League fixture difficulty table, which looks based on the kind of the bookmakers' odds. So where people end up, you can see kind of how difficult their running is. And so kind of start all right. They play Bournemouth, they play Newcastle, and play Huddersfield in the first three matches. But then out there, they've been for the next six matches. They play or seven matches. They play five of the top six.
Wow. Okay.
So you get to November there, you've played five of the top six. You may have very few points in your hands. And also, look at the other end of the season. Their final seven games, they play four of the top six.
Ouch. Okay. Yeah. So they could be.
And
the other flip side of that is if they don't win those early games, that the ones that you mentioned that aren't against the top six, and then play the top six teams, like the teams from the top six, they could be in a world of pain.
you could be doing a derby and having absolutely naff all points. Yeah.
I'd love it. Sorry, Cardiff fans, but I'd love that. Absolutely love it. So yeah. Okay, so we went on the tangent and we covered the top the promoted teams there. I don't, because there's a few more transfer things I think we can talk about. A very interesting one, and we mentioned it in the review of Man City last week, is Joe Hart. Heard the news?
Burnley, isn't it?
Yeah, he's having currently. Apparently, it is today/tomorrow because today's a Sunday. He's having a medical for Burnley because they've had injuries to Nick Pope and Tom Heaton now, so they just want to get all the English goalkeepers in they can, and one of them will make the next squad at the World Cup and the Euros. So, but yeah.
So Burnley, my second side. My wife is from the area, so obviously look at their results. So they're obviously Burnley quite close to Man City. He wants to stay in the area now. I think.
Yeah.
Joe Hart, if it wasn't for the injuries, would you be getting a Premier League? We said something along the lines last week. I can't see where you're going to get a Premier League move, barring someone getting injured. It turns out that it's taken two keepers to get injured for Joe Hart to get a Premier League move. So it's even worse than we feared. So,
and this is surely his last chance saloon for Joe Hart, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because he's actually replacing Tom Heaton, who had a great first season for Burnley to get him in the England squad, and then when he got injured, Nick Pope came in and had such a good season that he got into the England squad. And now he's got injured and Joe Hart has come in, and it's like this is either going to prove that Joe Hart is still in amongst those goalkeepers that can get in the England squad, or he is well below the standard that England require for a goalkeeper.
Look, the issue I have is that I was already nervous about Burnley this season because of the added, if they get through to the group stages, the added complications with Europa League football. Add to that a second-rate keeper, I'm now even more worried. Yeah,
I mean, they've been somewhat busy in the transfer market. I mean, recently they've got not Darren Gibson. He used to play for Man United. Ben Gibson, the defender from Middlesbrough, is close to joining Burnley. Again, it's not a wonderful move in the terms of the player. And then.
They haven't signed anybody as yet, so it's all it's still up in the air, isn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, the Ben Gibson one is Tony Pulis, manager of Middlesbrough, has come out and said he's very close to signing for Burnley. So I'd expect that one to be nailed on. And then they're also going in for Sam Clucas, which It doesn't make much sense to me because he's not very good.
It's textbook Burnley, isn't it? I'm really surprised that Burnley haven't tried to raid West Brom a bit more. I thought that some of their players would
Well,
be right up their street.
Yeah, they've had bid rejected for Rodriguez. They've tried to get him back. But yeah. I just think, Sean Dyche has always been one of these managers. He's clearly a good manager, don't get me wrong. But he's always been one of these managers that moans about the influx of foreign managers and how English managers aren't given a chance. Do you reckon that's sort of being shown in his transfers as well? I mean, Ben Gibson is English. Sam Klukas is English. Joe Hart is English. Is he afraid to go and sign a foreign player?
Yeah, do you reckon he's going to make a rod for his own back? He's like, I've criticised him here. I can't possibly then go against it. I mean, because it is a largely English squad, isn't it?
It is. It very much
is. So we've obviously both read the book Up Pompeii around kind of the impact of foreign managers in areas, helps develop and bring the kind of the Football Association up a gear. And it just seems like, I know, Burnley, his pocket of kind of almost seem afraid to progress by utilising that foreign knowledge and or ability, don't they?
Yeah, it is a very interesting dynamic, I guess you can call the word, at Burnley. If there's Burnley fans out there that listen, I'm interested to know about like the youth team at Burnley. Is it all English players? Because again, that's another thing you hear is that there's
I saw a stat the other week around the minutes played last season by youth players. For the 20 clubs.
Is that Man United? Is that the one Man United were top of?
They may have been, at the bottom of the list were Burnley with 0 minutes. None. Zilch.
Wonderful. Okay, yeah. So interesting. That is it's quite interesting to see that. I'm sure we'll have a discussion later on down the line of these podcasts all about the youth systems and setups and who's getting game times and stuff. But that's a very interesting stat. That will probably have to change with the impact of the European football that's going to be coming.
We've got to, because he doesn't have a large squad, so he's got to have to use some players, and you never know, if they get knocked out of Europe, we'll see some youth players getting some final group games in the Europa League.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, well, I think what we'll do is we'll leave the transfer roundup there. I know we've only really touched on a few, but we did go into the promoted teams as well and discuss them. But if you want to hear, like Josh and I, have an opinion on anything else in the transfer window or another club specifically in the league, just leave us a comment below and we will cover it in future podcasts. We'll make sure to cover it because we like to hear what you guys want to talk about as well, like anything you want to hear about and get us talking about. So let us know. But next up, the Wiki Files. So, Josh, it's your turn this week, and I will have a go at describing what I see and who I think it is. So, obviously, last week was the...
Say what you see.
Last week was the Indonesian-based Danny Guthrie, who I still haven't seen on my golf tours to Indonesia. But, this week I have someone who I'm going to suggest is Dutch. His youth career started at MVV in 1985. He was there for 2 years, where he got snapped up by PSV in the Air youth system between 1987 and 1993. He then went on to make 112 appearances. Oh, I've got it already for PSV. Have I got it? Have I got it? Oh, hang on. I'm not sure. Yeah, 1998, he got a big move to Barcelona after 112 appearances for PSV in 5 years, which is pretty good, scoring 32 goals. He then moved from Barcelona to Chelsea, and then... Oh, no, I haven't got it. And then he moved to Chelsea for 3 years, from 2001 to 2004, making 43 appearances in 3 years, scoring 4 goals. He matched that total of goals next... Oh, no, hang on. He was on loan for one of those seasons at Middlesbrough and scored 4 goals for 31 games, which got him a permanent move to Middlesbrough, where he scored 5 goals in 36 games, which got him a move to Liverpool, and he scored 23 goals. 23 goals, no he didn't. He made 23 appearances. He scored 23 goals in 2 appearances. No, he scored 2 goals in 23 appearances, then moved to Marseille for 2 years, 54 games, 6 goals, and then ended his career, I will assume, because it says total, he ended his career at Sunderland, scoring 4 goals in 47 appearances. Now I think I do know who this is, but the first instinct I had, because I immediately saw Chelsea and Middlesbrough, was actually Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. but I know it's not him.
Oh,
I know it's
and
not.
Dutch, yeah.
Yeah, but I
But
know it's not Jimmy
his
Flank. Yeah.
and who did Jimmy Hasblank play for in Spain?
Who did Jimmy Floyd have to play for in Spain? Oh my
Madrid.
god.
Atletico
Oh,
Madrid.
Atletico Madrid. Sorry, I only heard the Madrid bit. Yeah, he did play for Atletico Madrid. You're right. I think this player is a name whose first name I can never pronounce properly.
Oh, that's a good start.
Yeah, and his surname is Zenden, and I'm going to go with
Budwine
Bodwine.
Zenden.
Yeah, Bodwine Zenden. Bovine Zenden.
Yes,
Yes, it was
correct.
what actually got it for me was the Liverpool playing for Middlesbrough, Liverpool, Sunderland is what gave it to me. I didn't know that he went to Marseille after Liverpool, but he was obviously
I have
that
very
Chelsea.
little memory of him at Liverpool. Very little.
I remember him. I thought he actually went there on loan. I didn't think they signed him, but obviously they have. Wikipedia is the fountain of all knowledge and is never wrong. And I think, yeah, I remember him being there. He wore the number 23, if I remember right. That could be a great shout for a bit of memory. I'm pretty sure it was either 23 or 32. Zenden wore. I'm googling it right now to see how good my knowledge is. And I remember him being, that move from Chelsea to Middlesbrough, Liverpool, and then Sunderland, and he was a decent player, Zenden.
See, you look at his career and think, oh, Chelsea, Liverpool, Barcelona, you think, oh, he's going to be a fantastic player. But he really was pretty bang average, in my opinion.
I thought he had some good moments flying down the wing. I thought he was, good.
I was going to suggest this as a feature. I'd name a player and you'd go, right, and you've got to think of the first memory that comes to his head. So if I say Zenden, what's the first memory that comes to mind for him?
For Chelsea, early career at Chelsea, coming on and being much quicker than I imagined him to be. That's my only memory of Zenden.
Not even a goal or anything.
No. I just thought this guy looks like he's been signed because he's like he looks like he's going to have flair, and he was rapid. And I just want to point out he did wear the number 32 at Liverpool, so I'm taking that as a win for my memory.
Well done. Well done, Dave's memory. Yes.
Can we have his international stats just while we're talking? Can we?
Oh yeah.
Just to have a little look.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, decent Netherlands career. 54 games, 7 goals.
Yeah, that's not bad. Retired in 2004, so he only played for. Is that 7 years internationally? That's
fair, isn't it?
Yeah, that is a fair amount actually. That is a fair amount. So, I mean,
it's weird. But it's weird. Is he didn't play for Netherlands after he'd signed for Liverpool after that?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he didn't. But I think he was better than bang average. Interestingly, I know for a fact that we have Chelsea fans and Liverpool fans that listen to the podcast. So, what do you remember about Zenden, and how do you think he got on at your clubs? I mean, Chelsea, obviously 4 goals and 43 appearances and being shipped out on loan to Middlesbrough for the last of those years at Chelsea. Maybe you've got a different feeling about, or who do you agree with? I think he's better than average. I thought he was a good, decent player to have in the squad at that time. And Josh thinks, what was your words, Josh? Bang average.
Average, yeah. Little some facts here about him. Did you know that he was a vegetarian?
I didn't. No, I don't know him that intimately.
So you must know this one because every bloody commentator loved this stat. But he was a judo black belt.
No, I did not know that.
How stocky he was. He's like a really chuck player. That's how I always thought of it.
I knew he was a stocky player. That's why I was surprised how rapid he was. That's my memory of him.
Yeah, and he was also Chelsea assistant manager for a season.
When he was playing, did they have like a player assistant manager? That would have been epic.
No, it's a couple of years after a Sunderland gig, and so he was a rapper's assistant. Clubs love that, don't they? Bringing in an ex-player just to bond things.
Yeah, they do. He knows knowledge of the club is what they say, isn't it?
Oh,
knowledge of the club.
Absolutely.
It's a good wiki files. I like that one. It's But have you got any memories of Zenden? Like a standout?
Yeah, it would be celebrating a goal with Asmo Jan at Sunderland. He tried to do Asmo Jan's dance. He looked like a dad dance.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, that's a good standout memory. I love that one. That is very good. So yeah, another wiki files. Hopefully you guys got it in the comments as well. I'm sure the Chelsea and the Liverpool fans probably did. But yeah, let us know down below if you got that. And now we're going to go on to the bit that I generally really, really hate because it normally shows up how much I suck at betting. The predictions.
So you say this, Dave, but I know in my head you're the best better I know. I'm like,
That's true.
Man, he's always winning money. So,
Yes.
oh, well, that's true, is it? All right.
It's great to tell people about the winners, isn't it?
Yeah, you're crippling debt. You have to move to Singapore to avoid.
Exactly. If I stay in Singapore for 5 years, my debt gets wiped in the UK. If anyone from the government is listening, I have no debt in the UK. We're fine. Yeah, predictions. So we'll start in the traditional manner. Top 4. Are we going in order? Are we going who we think finishes first, second, third, fourth?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Who's top of the pile for you, Josh? Who's top of the pile?
It's going to be... It's the first time in a few years this would have happened, actually. A team will retain the title.
Okay. We're joint on that.
Yeah, Man City. I mean, they ran away with it last year, didn't they? And strengthened a little with Mahrez. But I don't think they really needed to strengthen.
Well, that's the thing with Man City is that they normally say, if you don't invest, you're not moving forward, you're standing still. But Man City have a pretty young squad. They're all going to be one more year experience. They're all going to be slightly better.
Actually, with Pep being a quite intense coach, learning his methods, I think and obviously new signings, as it were. Laporte only had half a season. Mendy barely played.
Yeah.
New, so I think they're just going to push on again, really.
Yeah, I totally agree. Second place, I'll go for this one because I asked you about top. So second,
go ahead.
Yeah, I've gone for possibly the top 2 teams which are most annoying for a Man United fan to say. I've gone Liverpool finishing second.
As have I. Yes, we spoke about them earlier being a team on paper. I'm a little bit intrigued by how well Salah will score the goals because they shared the goals. I mean, goals get shared between their front three pretty well, but obviously Salah was head and shoulders above the rest. If he doesn't have a similar season, will they be as strong?
I think what they'll have going into this year is they'll have that fear factor. Is that teams will be going to face Liverpool thinking, "Oh my God, Salah, Firmino, Mane, Keita." It's just like it's just an automatic fear factor. Like Man United used to have it in the 90s, didn't they? Some teams just knew they were going to get beat, and I think that's what the Liverpool front three and the Liverpool team will do. The problem Liverpool have, and I think you mentioned this in a tweet to the reply about one of the polls to somebody that was mentioning it. It was they are a Van Dijk injury away from being back to the back 4 that they really don't want. Or the back 2, or Lovren and Klavan, Lovren and
Matip, anyone,
Matip,
Lovren and anyone, so, and so obviously they don't have Alisson behind it, but again, as I said earlier, you often sign players for their second season, especially if they've not had any Premier League. Salah had obviously had a bit of Premier League experience, which I think helped his development and how well he pushed on this season. Had a bit of a axe to grind, a point to prove. So that's what I think may have helped him push on. But a lot of their signings have no Premier League experience. Keita, no experience. Fabinho, no experience. Alisson, experience. Shaqiri, bit of experience.
It's an interesting one. But I still think they'll have enough about them to finish second. Annoyingly, he said begrudgingly. Yeah, I think they will. Third place, we'll go back to you for third place. Who's your prediction?
Yeah, and good job you come to me. It's my beloved Tottenham.
I've got the same.
Yes. Yeah. And so, I mean, currently, as it stands, we have all the players who played last year at our club. So we maintain that status quo. And again, we've got players who can push on again. So we've signed Lucas Moura in January last year, who didn't really show anything apart from a few FA Cup matches, but had a really good pre-season so far. If we keep Fernando Llorente, he's had another good pre-season. He could be someone who can step in with a few goals. So I think all is not lost by not signing anyone, but you're not losing anyone so far. I don't think that's going to be the case when the window shuts. I think we'll lose a couple of players and probably sign a couple, but I think we're in a good position. And we're back at home, back at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Oh, yeah. So, what an inspiring name that is. Yeah,
absolutely. How can I come up with it? I just don't know.
marketing at its best.
But
So-
I mean, we've done it our past few seasons, so I think we're good to go again.
Okay, just while we're talking about Spurs, do you think there may be a transfer deadline day deal involving swap and money? And I don't know which way round, but Martial going to Spurs and Alderweireld going to United with one player plus money in certain
I
directions.
can definitely see Alderweireld going,
Yeah,
but I honestly don't know what that means for Tottenham the other way. Because Martial, I mean, we were keen on signing Martial when he was at Monaco when he signed for you.
yeah.
But whether United would be willing to sell to us, I'm not sure. Do I want him as a maybe?
Yeah.
I'd definitely take him if that's our only signing, but I'd rather others like Zaha.
Yeah. Okay.
But
obviously.
Yeah, it's up in the air. I think a deal. There'll be definitely some transfer activity between Man United and Spurs before the window shuts.
Okay, yeah, interesting. All right then, and on to fourth place. Now we are matched head to head on predictions so far.
I don't think we're
place.
going to match here.
I've gone for Chelsea.
I have gone for Manchester United.
Yeah, well, I think if you listened to last week's podcast, I was very, very depressed about Man United's chances. I don't know. I'm being very pessimistic, which is very unlike me. Normally, I'm quite optimistic about most things. I was very optimistic about David Moyes' appointment, which turned out to be horrendous. And I was actually very pessimistic about Jose's appointment, and I'm sticking with that pessimism. And I think Chelsea will nick fourth place from us, and that will happen because Sarri will get them playing in a way that is very, very functional. In a 4-3-3, which suits the squad players they have. It suits the squad depth they have as well at Chelsea, and I just think he'll get them working really well. A lot of this is dependent on whether or what happens with Courtois and who they sign to replace him. But the squads as they are at the moment, and the teams as they're performing, and how the amount of players that have got to come back from the World Cup and stuff like that, I've gone with Chelsea in fourth.
I've gone for Man United because they are settled. They've got a good side, performed well last season. I think we'll see the risk around De Gea. Will he have as good a season? But I think also on the other end of the pitch, Lukaku tailed off the end of last season. He now knows how it's working at United, and he should be able to kind of keep a year's sustained goal scoring going. My main doubt is the insanity of Mourinho, whether players will start to revolt like they seem to do in later Mourinho season. We're kind of a shadow hanging over them at the moment, but I've gone for Chelsea and Arsenal are my remaining top six.
Okay, yeah, I've got United fifth and Arsenal sixth.
Yeah, so both of those are similar for me because there's a lot of change in both sides. Okay. Managers have changed, so new implemented. I think more so with Chelsea at Sarri, a very different change in tactics will take, and he often takes a little bit of time to adapt. So I think that'll make a slow start. Cue Chelsea winning first 5 games by every record now.
I was going to say that my Man United prediction to be outside the top 4 comes with a caveat of I will review it. Sorry, if Mourinho is fired, I will review where we'll finish. I think if the players revolt and Mourinho gets shown the door early doors in the season, and I'm talking early like before Christmas, I think we'll finish top 4 because they'll bring someone in that can just go arm around and make it a happy place, and then everyone will be performing well. Okay, bottom 3 is next. We've both covered Cardiff, and I think we both said they're going to finish rock bottom.
These do, yes,
yeah,
they are.
Now we're talking about 19th place. Now 19th place, Josh. Who have you got?
Huddersfield.
Oh, I've got Huddersfield as well. This is ridiculous.
Oh,
this is utterly ridiculous.
Goals win games. We spoke earlier about how none of the promoted sides have any goal scorers. Cardiff failed to score in 21 of their 38 matches last year. That's absurd.
Yeah, how did did they get promoted?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Okay, but Huddersfield then. So, yeah, they don't have the firepower, and I think
they were somewhat fortunate last year. They seemed to pick and choose their games like they did in the Championship when they were promoted. They just kind of like, when they had reached certain points, they kind of just rested players for a while, and when they win matches, I think haven't really strengthened to any great degree this year. So yeah, I
It's
see. Do you know what? I've just thought about Huddersfield. Do you know David Wagner?
yeah.
I assumed he was German because of his friendship with Jurgen Klopp.
Is he not German?
He represented USA, American in that sense.
Oh right, interesting. Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, good little fact. Yeah, good little fact. I
Yeah.
just want to say the only thing I'll say about Huddersfield is you mentioned it there that goal scorers win you games, and they say goal scorers win your games, defences win your titles, and I don't think Huddersfield have really got brilliant either end of the field. They're decent in midfield with Aaron Moy, but I think I can see Huddersfield really struggling this year. Q Huddersfield winning first 5 games of the season. And then in 18th place, the team that will just be so close to that survival. Who have you gone for?
It's your turn to go, Dave. You go for it, mate. Yeah.
I've gone for a team that I don't want to see relegated. It's with a heavy heart. I predict Crystal Palace to finish 18th.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't put them anywhere near it, to be honest with you.
They have not got any money to strengthen. They've got Zaha, who I still think might move before the end of the season. They've brought in a couple of players. They're just all round. I just think they're going to struggle. I can't see Hodgson doing what he did again this year. Last season. This year, I can't. See
they've had the third highest squad churn of anyone, but they do have a very easy start to the season. So they have. Which is a double-edged sword, obviously, because if you don't win those games, but in their first 7 games, they face Fulham, they face Watford, they face Huddersfield, they face Bournemouth. So they're all kind of they could easily pick up points in those matches. And so I think it is very dependent on Zaha and if he stays really, because he almost single-handedly kept him up last year.
Yeah, the thing I think about Crystal Palace is that even if they win those games, if they strike me this year as a club that if they get into a rut, it'll be one rut too many to get out of. And that's if they're in trouble around the Christmas period and they're struggling, Zaha will go. If they keep him in this window, he'll go in January if they're struggling, and then that'll be their season over. They've lost Kabay. They've lost Kabay with central midfield, who was maybe not as influential on the pitch halfway through the season, but Hodgson openly admitted he really wanted to keep him because of his influence in the dressing room. And I just think they've lost Loftus-Cheek, obviously, after he's had a great season that got him into the England squad. So I just see them struggling, and I don't want them to go down, but I think they will. Who did you go for? Sorry, we haven't even got to your prediction.
So I went for Watford.
Watford, okay, interesting.
Watford is just
one manager too many.
Yeah, and you look at their squad, you go, who are you? There's no real identity to them. It's just kind of all right, pick up and replace different foreign player, but not like I don't mind foreign players. Obviously, I'm not saying I'm not Sean Dyche, but it just seems like completely unknowns. They kind of it's a very different way of managing. They sack managers willy-nilly. They sign players, and I just don't think they're.
But that comes from the turnover of managers, because all the managers bring in their new players, and they've had 5 managers I think I can think of, like in the time they've been in the Premier League.
And you don't last more than a season.
Yeah, and they all these managers bring in their own players, which means there's no exit. You never hear of players leaving Watford. You just hear of players coming in.
Well, obviously they've lost this season. They've lost Richarlison, haven't they?
Yeah. So which is interesting.
He had a good half a season, or not even that really, so maybe not the biggest loss, but it's whether they can invest that. They signed Deulofeu at the end of last year. I don't mind Deulofeu. It doesn't seem like he knows how to play football tactically, but he can be quite effective if used in the right way.
Yeah.
But I know I fear for them. I don't think they've got goals in them. I mean, record signing, probably Andre Gray.
Andre Gray, who was terrible last season. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know Burnley fans weren't exactly sad to see him go. No, didn't highly rate him. I mean, obviously, you got Troy Deeney as well. I don't see
Deeney's being linked to Cardiff at the moment.
God Almighty, makes me even more reason to hate Cardiff City.
Yeah,
one of the most unsaved moments of last season was Troy Deeney versus Joe Allen. You saw the absolute menace on Troy Deeney's face when he was kind of fish hooking Joe Allen. I thought it was like, wow, you've shown your true colours there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, not all to be completely negative for Watford. They have signed Doucouré to a new 5-year deal, and he was pretty immense in the second half of the season for Watford. So, yeah,
Good player.
it's a good little bit of business for them to keep him because again they can sell him for a lot more money with a 5-year contract now. Okay, so we've done top 4, we've done bottom 3, top goal scorer. It's on you.
Can't see past England's favourite Harry Kane.
Yeah, I can't see past Harry Kane either. He's one of your own,
Mm-hmm.
and I just
So
can't see anyone outscoring him.
no, so I look at it with Man City. You got Aguero, Jesus kind of share the goals around them. Would they score enough to each individually to get past Kane? Maybe not. Lukaku playing for ultra defensive United. I don't think he'll actually get enough chances to score as many. If he isn't a better manager who played more attacking football, could well do it. Morata is highly inconsistent. Aubameyang is a maybe for me. Depends how Arsenal set up. I think Aubameyang might be a challenger. And then Salah is again the other one that I could have gone with, but I think he won't be able to repeat. I think he'll score goals, but I don't think he'll get near his.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with all of that assessment. I think that's a very good thing to say. What I will say, one thing, is that I would love it to be a complete randomer. I would love it. Absolutely love it to be someone totally bizarre. Like, I don't know, I can't even think. Someone so bizarre, I don't know, like Iheanacho for Leicester. Just go on this incredible run where he scores like 2 goals every game for like 10 games and then pitches in with an odd couple here and there. It's like, you know what I mean? Someone like that, someone completely out of the ordinary.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see,
for Newcastle. It would be fucking incredible. It would just be, I'll try and remember to bleep that, swear there, sorry people, sorry listeners, but yeah, it'd be incredible to see someone who no one ever thinks of, but it's probably not going to happen.
Newcastle though, poor old Newcastle.
Wow, yeah, I think Newcastle can have an hour to themselves with Newcastle. A Newcastle special.
my football fact of the week, spoiler alert, is linked to Newcastle, so we'll get to that in a few minutes. But
yeah, we're not far
so
from that.
You're linked with me then, top scorer Harry Kane, yeah?
I am. I can't see past England's Sir Harry Kane. So yeah. Next up, which is an interesting one. I don't think I've ever really predicted this before. And you snuck this one in as a predictor. I think that you wanted the surprise package in the Premier League.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. I've gone with Wolves. Now a lot of people are expecting Wolves to do well anyway. I think they're going to do like top 8. I think Wolves will be top 8. I think Wolves are going to have an amazing season, and I think they're going to do incredibly well in one of the cups. I'm talking like semi-final.
Very rigging this, mate. I think there's so your top 8 is the top 6 Wolves, and who else?
I haven't thought about 8th. I mean, you didn't. I didn't know we're going into that much detail.
I've thrown you a curveball. That's all right.
You have. No. Well, so I have my top 4. Man City, Liverpool, Spurs, Chelsea, United, Arsenal. I'm not sure on where Wolves will finish 7th or 8th. Let's go Wolves 8th, and I'd say I don't know. There's been such change in like quite a lot of the clubs.
It's funny how it always seems so difficult to predict, but you're like, it's going to happen. It's just someone will finish. It's just like, who will it be? Yeah.
I mean, I could see Everton having a good season, but can I see them finishing top 8? I don't know. Southampton, but then Mark.
It gets to that stage where it's such much of a muchness. It's not like they've got to be at the level of the top 6. It's just they'll be so close, so it could easily be one of a number of sides, couldn't it?
Do you know what? I'm going to go Wolves 7th and Everton 8th, and I'm going to make a note of that for when it happens, and then I can bring it back up. You'll hear my keyboard typing while I type this down. Wolves 7th, Everton 8th. There it is in note form. I'll tweet that out.
I do like Mauro Silva.
Yeah,
I do like Mauro Silva.
So do I, and I think he'll get Everton playing very well. Anyway, we're getting distracted here, just because I predicted Wolves to be a surprise package and finish there. What about you?
Well, see, the surprise package you've taken is surprisingly good.
Yeah, I have.
Surprisingly bad. I think Bournemouth will be surprisingly bad.
How bad?
relegation.
But you
I
didn't
think
put them in the bottom three.
No, I didn't. But I think they will scrape through. I think they will just avoid relegation.
They'll be the team that finishes 17th and stays up on goal difference. Is that what you're thinking?
Yes, but
Okay.
I think as a somewhat of established Premier League side now, and everybody says they play nice football under Eddie Howe, I think expect them to maybe do a little bit better than that. So is that? I mean, are we allowing this as a surprise?
Oh yeah. There was no.
All right, good.
There was no suggestion to say it had to be a positive or negative surprise. It can be.
Especially relying on goals from Jermaine Defoe now, who is getting on. He is. I think he's.
How much did he actually play last season? I don't think he's their top performer as a striker. It was more Josh King, I think they played up front.
Yeah, a good player as well.
So, and then again, that got him quite a few links to bigger teams. So I don't.
Yeah,
think...
he was linked with us. Yeah.
Yeah, played a lot. I think the thing with Bournemouth is that I think no matter how they did last season and the season before, I'd still expect them to always finish like 15th, 16th, 17th anyway. Now I can understand why you've put them as a surprise package to finish like just staying up sort of thing. That would be a surprise. I would always picture them to be like 15th or 16th and comfortable. Like not last 2 or 3 games of the season they're already safe, but they're only ever finishing 15th or 16th. And that's just how I picture Bournemouth. I know that's not the case, but yeah, that's not what they've done.
The problem I have with Bournemouth is like you can't predict them at all. Like you look through a season, it's like they've won 3 games on a bounce, play an easy side, lose it. It's like what's going on? What?
Yeah.
There's no consistency from at all, and
but everything about Bournemouth you can't predict. I mean, if you look at record transfer Jordan Ibe, and then he was awful, and they played him like 8 games. And then he came back in towards the end of the season. And then after that, the next record signing was Nathan Ake, who was incredible.
Yeah.
And it was like, I agree, you can't predict anything. And the one thing I will say about Bournemouth is they're always going to struggle when their ground is as small as it is.
It's very small.
It's very, very small. The Vitality Stadium is, I can't remember, I think it's only just over 20,000, or it's right on the limit that you're allowed in the Premier League.
Agreed,
so, But yeah, okay. So you've gone Bournemouth, You've gone Bournemouth in a negative fashion, and I've gone Wolves in a positive fashion. And then the last one that we've done in the early days, I think, even when we were writing like blogs and stuff about football, well, I think we always tried to predict the Champions League winner. So, who have you gone for?
I have gone for an English side.
Oh my God! Have you got Man City?
Man City.
I can't be having Man City do the double. I cannot be having them doing the league and European Cup. Not really. No. Okay, so you've got Man City. I can see it. Annoyingly, I can see it happening, but I can see it happening, but I haven't predicted it. So,
who have you predicted?
I've gone for Cristiano Ronaldo to win it at his new club.
Oh,
I've got
imagine
Juventus.
that. Imagine that. He would be the Champions League hero of all time.
Yeah, I can see Juventus winning it. They've been so close in recent seasons, and I think Ronaldo will score a ton of goals in the competition again. He'll bring that arrogance, that confidence to the whole squad. They've invested reasonably well this season in the transfer window, and yeah, I can just see them mounting a challenge again for it and going the final step this season.
Is the kind of that's what the move reeks of to me. Is like, come on, we've got this league wrapped up here. Let's just get this Champions League done, dusted. And they've signed the best Champions League player of all time. I mean, he's getting on, but he's a physical beast. So it seems like the body of a 30-year-old rather than a 33, 34-year-old. I think.
Yeah, he's gone from a flying winger and flying flare winger to a Alan Shearer. I'm not going to go further than the goalposts apart. Let's get the goals.
He's gone to that boring player, boring player. So if you watch the YouTube highlight reels for kids in the future, don't watch Ronaldo at Real Madrid because it's like yawn, one overhead kick every now and then. But there's some cracking goals in there.
Yeah. All right, well, so that's our predictions done. Let us know what your predictions are down below as well. It's always great to hear people's predictions.
Yeah.
And then like, because we'll put ours in stages on Twitter. We'll make sure they go out on Twitter. And someone can save them, but the internet will save them forever. And people can bring them up at the end of the season and say, can you remember when Josh and Dave predicted Man City to win the league and Guardiola got sacked at Christmas? That was hilarious.
That would be a turn up for the books, wouldn't it?
That would be a massive turn up for the books. So I don't think there's anything else. Is there any other predictions you want to sneak in? We've got a little bit of time. If you want to,
No, I don't want to make my life even more difficult.
Yeah, that's very true. So, in that case, then, Josh, we'll move on to your fun football fact of the day. Take it away.
So I mentioned earlier it was going to. So I was looking around the transfers that have happened and the record transfer fees for each club, and Newcastle is pretty bleak reading, isn't it?
I know where this is going.
Do you know what's coming?
Yeah, I know what's coming.
And also, you can go back a little bit further. So in 1996, Newcastle broke the world transfer fee record for Alan Shearer at 15 million. And then 9 years later, they didn't quite break they just about broke, their transfer record with signing with Michael Owen for £1 million more of 16 million. So in 2005, that's the transfer. That still stands as their record transfer fee of all time.
It's embarrassing. It's so embarrassing.
9 years later, with all the money that's been pumped into football, they have not broken their transfer record. It's just crazy. Every other team in the Premier League has broken their transfer record since then. I think the last one to do so was Cardiff in 13-14. Do you have any idea who that one is, Dave? A little quiz there?
It was a striker. Was it?
No, it was not a striker.
No, it wasn't. It was the central midfielder.
Yes, from Chile.
Yeah, Vidal? I knew I had the knowledge in there somewhere.
We've got there somewhere, yeah. But yeah, so... I mean, it just kind of sums up. I mean, that's the Mike Ashley effect, isn't it? It's just,
it really
I feel very sorry for Newcastle fans, and they would 100% have been relegated last year.
How much?
Rafa Benitez wasn't there.
Off the top of your head, I'm sort of going to add a bit of a fact on. I just need to know this little bit. That with Cardiff, when they signed the central midfielder Vidal, how much did he cost?
Less than Michael Owen. I think it was around like in the teens, kind of like
so he wasn't
£12 million and that. No,
yeah, so he wasn't 20 million.
No, but there's only
the stat that I can put on the fact that I can put onto the end of your fact is that now there are currently 2 teams in the Premier League who haven't spent more than £20 million on a player, or £20 million or more on a player, and that is Newcastle and Cardiff. Because Fulham have bought Fulham were one of them, and they bought Mitrovic for 22 million, so they're now ticked off it. And Wolves have been spending money left, right, and centre, haven't they? So, but yeah, there you go.
But I mean, I will add to that it seems like now, because of the kind of the Sky Sports effect, it seems like fans go, your club can't be successful if it doesn't spend millions on transfers. So I would say that there is an element of bringing through players and coaching players that kind of is a nuance that's been lost in recent years because of all the money in the Premier League, especially. But
on the flip side of that, how many players have Newcastle brought through that have been any good?
Exactly, yeah. And do they have what you look at is a championship level squad? But hey, if it keeps them up, that's what the requirements are from a board. Then you need you put your money into the manager, don't you?
Exactly. Well, you got basically 2 facts for the price of 1 today. So hopefully you've enjoyed that. But we will be ending the podcast there. So Josh, if you've got any other last-minute newsy bits or transfer news you want to bring in, or should we save it for next week when the window has slammed shut? Why does it slam as well? No one slams a window.
We're very rude. Yeah. Oh.
If it was like a transfer door, I could understand it because people slam doors. But I've never known anybody to slam a window.
You'd more lock it, wouldn't you? If you had to have a kind of definitive kind of end to it, lock the window, because you might turn the key and lock it. But very, very reckless behaviour slamming it.
Exactly.
Don't do that.
Exactly. So on that health and safety warning from Josh, we will end the podcast there. So thank you very much for listening, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. Josh, if you want to say your goodbye and farewells.
See you later.
There we go. At least that was a bit more professional than your start to the podcast. Thank you very much for listening, guys. We will be uploading this. In the description, I'll put a little link into where you can listen to this on the internet, and we are looking to bring more ways of getting this available to more people. So thank you very much for listening. But for now, we're out. Cheers.